Hello Year 9, it's my job to talk to you today a little bit about history at GCSE and what to expect if you chose it as one of your option subjects. So we follow the Edexcel syllabus at GCSE. It's 100% examined, which means that at the end of the course in Year 11 you will sit 3 exam papers and they will cover 4 different topics, and I will talk to you a little bit about those in a minute. We always say to students that if you love history, and obviously there's some amazing stories in our past for us to look at. If you love history, then you should consider taking it for GCSE. But you must go into this with your eyes wide open. Obviously, we are a literary subject, so our subject is 100% reading and writing. We have some fairly short questions on all of our exam papers, so we have some 4-mark questions. But we also, on every exam paper, have essay questions, and these are worth up to 20 marks, and they will need you to write for up to about 30 minutes just on a single question. So, you must understand that if you choose GCSE history, that is what you're going to be asked to do and practice lots of. So here we go. So paper 1 in GCSE is called our thematic study. So it's a study of crime and punishment and law enforcement from roughly the year 1000 up to the present day. We do a sort of in-depth study on Whitechapel in East London in the 1880s. And some of the key questions that we look at, you can see on the screen now. So we look at what the main purpose of punishment was during different times in our history. Why was there a witch craze in the 17th century? Why was there resistance to the setting up of a police force in the industrial period? How did the use of prison develop in the 20th century? And why was the death penalty for murder abolished in the 1960s? And you can see all sorts of images on the screen in front of you, which are some of the images that we will study and look at. Paper 2 is a bit strange because there are 2 fairly diverse topics on paper 2. So the first topic that we answer questions on paper 2 is about early Elizabethan England. So Elizabeth I came to the throne in 1558 and she stayed on the throne for 45 years. But the period that we study is just the first 30 years of her reign, ending with the defeat of the Spanish Armada in 1588. Also on paper 2, we study the Cold War. We look at superpower rivalry between 1945 and 1991. So again, some of the key questions that we look at are what were the problems that Elizabeth I faced when she became Queen of England? Why did Anglo-Spanish rivalry lead to the Spanish Armada of 1588? Why did the USA and the USSR become rivals when World War II ended? How close did the world come to nuclear war during the Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962? And what were the consequences of the building of the Berlin Wall? So again, you can see there's some really interesting questions for us to consider when we do our study of paper 2. And again, you can see some images on the screen in front of you, linked to the Elizabethan part of the course, and also some images at the bottom from our study of the Cold War. Paper 3 is our final unit, and this is our depth study. So we look at Weimar and Nazi Germany from 1918 to 1939. So essentially we're looking at what happened to Germany between the end of World War I and the beginning of World War II. And again, some of the key questions that we look at are why did the new German government formed at the end of World War I, why did they face serious problems at the end of the war? How and why did the Nazi Party emerge and develop in the 1920s? Why was Hitler appointed Chancellor of Germany in 1933? And then we look at Nazi Germany, so we look at how did Hitler turn Germany from a democracy to a dictatorship by August 1934? How did life change for different groups of people in Germany living under the Nazi regime? So again, these are just some of the key questions that we will consider when we study paper 3. And again, you can see some images connected to our course on your screen. So, as you know, the history teachers, myself, Mrs. Baker, Miss Copeman, we're available for you to ask any questions that you have about the course and whether, how suitable you might be for it and whether you would enjoy it in year 10. And as I said to you at the beginning, we welcome anybody in history who's got a real love of history. We do ask you to read lots around the topic and encourage you to watch extra things on TV and read extra books and magazines connected to the topic that we study. So we encourage anyone with a love of history to consider taking our subject. But once again, we do urge you to find out as much as you can about the demands of this course, because we are, as I say, a literary subject, which will require you to do a lot of reading and a lot of writing. But, it's about really interesting stuff, so that's okay. You can ask any of us any questions about the course at all, and we'll be happy to help you. I don't think you can make any wrong choices at GCSE. You just have to choose things that you think you're going to enjoy, and history is definitely an enjoyable subject. So choose well, take care, and hopefully we'll see some of you soon. Okay?